Welcome back to Stronger Sports Academy. This video is covering burnout, 10 signs of a toxic work culture. The 10 signs are not ranked, so it's not ranked according to this is number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or this is worse. It's just listed in a sequential order, but all of these signs are definite problems. And with these signs, there are also some solutions that are available and recommended to apply if you ever find yourself in an environment where you see one of these potential red flags, if you will. So, without further ado, the number 10 sign is work matters on personal phones. This issue is a widespread issue, and sometimes it occurs so quickly that you may not even notice it happens until it happens. It usually happens during the first week of orientation or the first week of starting a new role, where everyone wants to get familiar with the environment and know everyone, meet everyone, and just become more familiar with the workplace culture and what's going on. But in the midst of becoming familiar with the workplace culture, one of the potential red flags that may occur is the initial request to have workplace emails on the personal phone. If this request comes towards your way, definitely take notice of this particular sign and request for a separate work designated phone that's just designated for work. It's designated for the company. And so all of the emails and communications can come through this particular phone and not your personal one. If this doesn't take place, the expectations could consist of you checking your emails all hours, perhaps after hours, perhaps on weekends, perhaps on weekdays, regardless of the particular day of the week. Expectations can be generally high. So have it separated. Request for a work phone if it's applicable. That's one of the key items and key ways to really dodge this red flag early. Red flag number 9. Too many meetings. There are occasions where a meeting is necessary. If a meeting is covering a critical matter, something serious is very important, yes. A meeting, yes, it's definitely worthwhile, especially if there are multiple people involved. Let's say you have a list of managers, officers, directors, supervisors, regardless of their title. If the meeting warrants for communication and input from different departments and different managers, then yes, the meeting is most likely necessary. But if it's a small matter, let's say it's a very miniature matter, nothing really important or serious, if the meeting can be in a way just not scheduled, and let's say an email is sufficient enough to address the matter, then that's a sign that they're using meetings more so than they should. Emails are most likely more sufficient enough to take care of the matter if it's not critical. Sign number 8, after hours. So let's say the typical hours, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 7 to 3, or maybe a less common breakdown of 10 to 6. But generally speaking, 8-hour workday minus lunch. If work is suspected to be completed beyond an 8-hour work period, then that's already multiple signs that are enwrapped in one. One particular sign is something has taken place where work has not been completed within an 8-hour period, and it's been happening for a very long time, and it may have not been reported. Sometimes work is completed by in 8 hours on paper, but completed in 12 hours in reality. So 8 hours completed on paper may only reflect what HR wants to see, but HR may not know that most of the employees are working 12 hours but only reporting 8. So that's 4 hours that's been documented, or more so not documented. So after hours, be mindful of unrealistic expectations. How do you get around this expectation? Is by doing a couple of things. One is showing how productive you can be within 8 hours. Showing how you're able to prioritize things within 8 hours and still meet deadlines. That's how you get around the after hours sign. Number 7, like a family. Ooh, this is a very common one, where many companies would like to present themselves as a family-like culture. Or they may make statements such as, we're like a family here. Well, the red flag behind this statement is we have a natural family already. So in our natural family, there may or may not be certain occasions where we may not speak for someone for a very long time, or other things. When a workplace says they're like a family, that's an indication that there are no boundaries there. Boundaries are often crossed. So, like a family is a red flag. I do not work with my family. I see my family. I visit my family. I call my family from time to time. I drive to see my family. But I do not work with my family. So be mindful of this particular statement if it comes across your way. Number 6, micromanagement. Micromanagement is one of the top causes of what they call the great resignation of candidates who are leaving companies or going to another company, or is also one of the reasons why one may resign from a company. Micromanagement is a sign that is often not seen until one starts a new role, because many times they hide this particular sign during the interview, but it becomes very apparent within the first 2 to 3 weeks. And there are a couple of smaller signs of micromanagement. They may consist of one, scheduling daily meetings when they're not necessary. One may cross managerial boundaries. Let's say you are a manager and you manage a team, but you report to a manager yourself. Micromanagement could consist of the manager you reporting to stepping over a boundary and then managing the team that actually reports to you. That's very toxic in itself. So what are some of these solutions to maneuvering around a micromanagement environment? Number 1 is being able to professionally push back against micromanagement behavior. One of the roots of micromanagement behavior is the failure of someone to believe that another person can get work done in a certain amount of time without conflict or delay. So being able to push back and professionally state your way of working, your way of managing, if you are a manager, or your way of just accomplishing certain tasks and managing to get them done within a certain amount of time, if not exceeding expectations of a certain way, to push back on micromanagement Another thing is to say, let's say someone schedules daily meetings with you and you recognize that they're actually taking time away from you and not allowing you to get some things done. You can say, this meeting today is not conducive to what I need to do. It's pulling me away from getting some more priority items completed. The way to push back on micromanagement is to remind someone of what's priority, because the daily meeting is not priority. The task is. Number 5, no true weekends. Many times in certain companies or even state and federal government roles, weekends are generally off. So you work Monday through Friday, weekends are generally off. A sign of a toxic work culture is if one is afraid to enjoy a weekend. If you're afraid to enjoy a weekend because you're in fear of receiving a random text or random email or random communication that will pull you away from pre-scheduled plans to spend time with your family or just enjoy yourself, that's a sign of a toxic environment itself, and it could lead to burnout because the mind cannot rest at that moment if you're continuously thinking about getting pulled away from an event you want to attend or something you like to do. So how do you establish and have true weekends? It's by releasing yourself from false burdens that come with a particular role. There are many occasions if something happens during the weekend, it will not be fully addressed until the following workday. Most of the time, the following workday is the day where most things are addressed, because you have all the people, you have all the participants, you have all the stakeholders, you have everyone that is necessary to get it resolved. So if something happens on a particular weekend, just know it will be addressed the following workday. So do not be afraid to enjoy yourself. Number 4, no safe space. No safe space is when meetings are recorded, so you're not able to speak on certain things that are personal to yourself. Number 2, a sign of no safe space is when the meetings are not exactly one-on-one, but it's in front of an audience and you may be put on the spot, unprovoked or caught off guard intentionally. Okay, those are not safe spaces because it doesn't put you in a place where you are comfortable with speaking about certain matters that may not necessarily be the business of someone else. So no safe space. A solution to resolving this or maneuvering around it is to speak up for yourself and say, I would like to speak on a matter that is a bit personal, and let us not record this meeting. Or let's say you are caught off guard in a meeting where it includes 5 to 10 people. You could say, I would like to speak on this offline or off topic. So give yourself a way of an escape so you can address what needs to be addressed on a particular matter that favors you. Number 3, one-man team. A one-man team sounds just like this, where instead of having an apartment where you have 5 to 10 people in one apartment, you only have one particular person. Where you have empty spaces, no one's there except for yourself. You overworking yourself to accomplish certain tasks, and it leads to eventual frustration because you only have 2 hands and you don't have managerial assistance to increase your team, or you don't have the bandwidth to expand your team. So the responsibility of 3 to 4 people has pretty much fell on you to carry on. So that's an example of a no man team sign. A solution to this particular issue is a bit rough because it requires managerial assistance. It may be a budget issue. It may be something that's completely out of your control. So the solution to this one is a rough one, but I will say just it's good to observe and to make note. And if you have a rapport with upper management, mention it to that particular person. Say, hey, is the company looking to expand? Is the company looking to perhaps grow our team, or do we have any projected growth for increase in numbers and increase in personnel on our side? Perhaps speak to the upper management, because it just may be where it could be some discussions about expanding the team, but it may not discuss those things with you. So that's one particular way out of this one. Number 2, hit the ground running. Hit the ground running is usually mentioned during an interview. Sometimes if you may catch the wording from the hiring manager or the other panelists that may be on a particular interview, where they may say, "We want somebody to hit the ground running." Sometimes it's actually written in the job description. And if it's mentioned during the interview or written or posted in the job description, what this means is they want someone who's able to just complete all of the projects and tasks that are considered as backlog, where it's something that should have been completed 5 to 6 months ago that is still pending. And they want someone to be able to go in and clean up certain tasks, projects, assignments that should have been completed perhaps a half a year ago or more. So when they say hit the ground running, that's what it's basically translated to. It also means we do not have the ability to train you. We do not have the patience to train you. We want you to basically hit the ground and be tossed into a literal fire. That's what this statement really means. And one of the few occupations that I am familiar with that actually hits the ground running are paratroopers. But the thing with paratroopers is they're trained for months before they're actually specialized trained to jump out of a plane and literally hit the ground running. Even they have specialized training for months. So it's almost unrealistic to expect someone to start in the first week of a role and literally hit the ground running when it takes 2 to 3 months to do it. What are the solutions to getting around this particular red flag? Is to state boldly and may remind them that perhaps you just started. Remind them that you may not have all the assets you need to complete perhaps the tasks they have just so quickly reassigned to you. Remind some of the other colleagues that you may come across in a meeting that you've just started, because it's a great chance they may not know that you have just started. It's also a chance it may have been stated that you've been there longer than said. I know of a time where someone just started, but the upper management stated the person was already there for a month and a half. And the person literally just started. So it may be in your favor to remind those as it comes up that you've just started and you're still getting the wheels rolling on what you need to do. Number 1, bait and switch. Number 1 is the bait and switch. And what this also translates into just yes or no. And what this means, let's say you're told something during the interview that was not fully promised after you started. So it's the classic bait and switch, where they know the key bait to hook someone in, but upon starting, they switch it around where it's not what was initially said. That's called bait and switch. And bait and switch is one of the roughest ones on the list because it may require some confrontation. And sometimes confrontation is not desired, but sometimes it's necessary. So if you find yourself in a bait and switch situation, then it's best recommended to speak to your immediate management on the particular issue or issues that fall within the bait and switch, and remind them of the conditions of the employment, also the conditions that were initially spoken during the interview that are not yet fully provided and presented and offered to you. It has to be a consistent reminder because it can also be a human resources type of issue that needs to be addressed as well. So that's one of the reasons why it could be the tough one, because it can involve human resources, it can involve senior management, and it can initially be a he say she say type of thing, yay or nay. So to get around bait and switch is to remind of what was spoken, look at what was written, and speak to human resources, and if necessary, make the human resources the middle person in communication between yourself and the management involved. Because the conditions of where you're working and how you're working is also a human resource jurisdiction type of thing. So those are the 10 signs of burnout, right? 10 signs of burnout. This is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for this channel for more videos that are coming. If you haven't checked out previous videos, they are there for you. They cover so many different avenues of IT and cybersecurity specifically. See you later.